government and the media would try to manipulate it to make it very similar to what happened in the U.S. The
January 6th.
insurrection, right? And you know, now we've come to that moment, and to be quite honest, it's the most hope I've had for this country in my lifetime. Now that I think back on the like my young life, the most hope I've had, and I was texting you about this a few weeks ago. We went out for the Freedom Rally in January, and that was my first experience ever going to a protest. Because before that, my stupid ignorant ass would be like, "Oh, why do you have to protest? Right? Like, fucking just make the changes from home. Do whatever you like." I didn't understand why, what drove people to that mechanism, right? That outlet. And in the last 3 weeks, it's really changed my opinion and me as a man, because now I see why people do those things. And like everybody's reason is different. You had climate protests, all sorts of different protests. But I mean, some protests are dumb as fuck. I'm just gonna put that out there. But I understand now. I understand why people do something like that. And like you were saying to me, but it was like you were in a sense of community, right?
Mm.
And for so long, for 2.5 years, and I shouldn't say this, but credit to fucking the government. They've done a good job at making you feel alone, right?
Yes.
It's part of this whole reset process of isolation. That was the first thing that you do, like, and part of mass psychosis is the isolation factor of mass psychosis is the most important part of it, right? To
Yeah.
isolate the human being, isolate the mind, isolate the thoughts into this state where now you are vulnerable to the propaganda, right? That they're spewing out. And while we did a good job of it, we also started to feel like we were the only people who thought the way we thought, that we didn't have freedom. And for the first time in 3 years, uh, it didn't feel that way. There was and this is we haven't had a chance to go out to the convoys yet, which we probably will next weekend if everything's still going. But the people are just so fucking nice. It was one of the most like
No,
one of
they're
the
insurrectionists and racists and
it,
misogynists.
one of the most welcoming environment. Like we couldn't stay out long because it was -30, and we had the kids with us, so my son started freaking out after about an hour. But for an hour, there was not one negative vibe. Everyone was talking to everybody. There was people of all different aspects of the situation. People who got waxed, people who didn't got waxed, people who lost jobs, people who were just there because they didn't agree with anything that was going on, and people who were just there because they want to feel love again in the communities in Canada. And that was to me the start of something that was happening right now. And